Not so long ago, cars were pretty simple. No, I'm not just talking about internal combustion engine vehicles. Even EVs of years gone by were pretty simple. Our new project car, which we still have to pick up because of physical distancing, didn't have a single computer on board when it left the factory. And while many modern electric vehicles use computer circuitry to control the speed of the motor and every other system on the car, it used a series of resistors and relays as its method of speed control. Today's modern cars, however, be they powered by an internal combustion engine and fossil fuel, or an electric motor and a bank of batteries, are pretty complex. They have computers embedded into pretty much every onboard system, from the fueling and charging systems through to the body controls, brakes, telematics, and of course, infotainment system. Like any computer, these systems have the potential to store information about you, the owner and the driver of the car, while the lion's share of those systems have very little direct connection to you or your driving and store little to no personal identifiable information. That's PII if anyone is playing acronym bingo. Some systems like the telematics, infotainment and GPS systems do store some data about you. These systems can store everything from your home address and most frequently accessed destinations to logins for in-car services and pairings with your smartphone. So when a story surfaced this weekend about used Tesla components going on sale on eBay with personally identifiable information connecting them to the owner of the car they were previously installed in, a slew of news outlets got more than a little worried. After all, Tesla's known to be particularly stringent on who it sells parts to, let alone who has access to pre-owned components. So how did this happen? Accidentally forgetting to wipe your car's internal computer systems when you sell your car is one thing, but having components that were swapped out by a service centre end up for sale on the open market, complete with your personal data still intact on them? Well, that's something else. I'm about to explain what we know about this and what we don't know, as well as detail some steps that you can take to make sure that your personally identifiable information doesn't make it into the wrong hands. Because while the meat of this story does focus on Tesla, this could actually happen to any car owner out there with any brand of EV, or in fact, any brand of car. Let's start with the Tesla parts on eBay. It seems that a white hat security expert by the screen name of Green the Only, essentially a hacker who researches security flaws and helps companies fix them rather than use those security flaws for nefarious purposes, purchased 4 Tesla computers off eBay and found each of them contained the personal data of the person whose car they were previously fitted in. The units in question included media control units, that's MCUs, of various versions from Model S and Model X cars, as well as the autopilot systems and the integrated combined media control unit and autopilot systems found on Model 3 and Model Y cars. Why were they being replaced? Well, in the case of the MCUs, there's a known hardware design problem with them that's caused by Tesla's decision way back when to use flash-based memory for internal system logs. While flash memory is relatively cheap and fast, it's not suited to environments where there are a lot of read and write cycles, as it can wear out the memory pretty quickly. But Tesla's computer systems are doing just that, reading and writing a lot of logs to these flash devices. This leads to premature hardware failure. For this reason, Tesla owners have been successful to campaign Tesla to replace the poorly designed MCUs with a second generation design which supposedly doesn't have the same issues. Although we are now starting to see data to suggest that failures are still happening even with that new hardware. Either way, Tesla has been swapping out MCUs from customers' cars and replacing them with newer units. And in the case of autopilot, well, those units are being swapped out for newer versions of Tesla's autopilot hardware computers in order to ensure customers who paid for full self-driving when they ordered their car way back when have the latest autopilot hardware system installed, because it's only the most recent iterations of Tesla's autopilot hardware that are actually compatible with full self-driving. While you'd think part of all of this process would include erasing the old units and replacing them, it seems that Tesla's current strategy, at least according to sources who spoke to Green and Inside EVs, Tesla's service technicians are being instructed to just throw the old units away and destroy them in some way before doing so. It looks like not all of the units are being destroyed beyond repair, and while some broken units are appearing online, which Green says still has the customer data on them, many are still being sold completely intact. What's not clear is if the units are being sold by dumpster divers or by technicians looking to get some extra money on the side, and how should I put this nicely, wanting to support the active but totally undiscussed market for second-hand Tesla parts caused by Tesla's unwillingness to sell those parts to DIY enthusiasts and third-party garages. You've got to get your parts from somewhere, right? Regardless of how these things are getting to market, however, they are going on market. And while Tesla could and should take some steps to ensure PII doesn't end up in the open domain, like ensure units are wiped at disposal or worse, their memory chips smashed to make it hard to retrieve data, they're not. And while Tesla is aware of the issue at the time of writing and filming this, I don't believe a whole lot is being done to address the issue or even notify owners that their data may be compromised. But look, let's not pretend this is an issue that's peculiar to Tesla. Every modern car, electric or otherwise, has the potential to have the data stored on it leaked, either through a service swap out or through an unexpected accident that leaves you compromised and your data compromised on a salvage vehicle. While I'm not a lawyer, nor do I play one on TV or the internet, I'd suggest it's probably down to the automaker to ensure your PII isn't leaked in most situations, but I'm not 100% clear on that. Even if it is the case, however, there are some steps you can take to make sure that your data isn't compromised. First, if you have your car in for a service and you know for sure that there's a computer replacement on the cards, erase your personal identifiable information before you drop the car off. A factory reset will make it harder, although not completely impossible in some cases, to retrieve that data. It's the same as if you were handing back a rental car, a release car, or selling your car or your computer. You would restore the car to factory settings in every way before you hand over the keys and double, triple check you've cleared every option from GPS to phone pairings, apps and calendars before you hand off that car. Obviously, some cars do store less data on them than others. For example, some newer cars don't have GPS built in but use your smartphone via Apple CarPlay or Android Auto to navigate. That said, sometimes EVs still store GPS data for your home so that it can use that for charging functionality. And in that case, that data can be erased in car or via a companion app. Know as well that sometimes the data is erased simply just by disconnecting the 12-volt battery. My Chevrolet Bolt, for example, loses some of its charging data when I disconnect the battery pack, but it keeps some data in non-volatile memory that I must purposely erase if I want to clear it. If you have access to your car, this is all pretty easy, but what if you haven't got access to it because the computer system was swapped out without your knowledge, or you, goodness forgive, had an accident? Well, double check you can't get to that vehicle. For example, if your car's been in a wreck and written off, you still may be able to get access to it before it's sold off, as it usually takes a few weeks for insurance to do its thing before that vehicle is sold on. And if that's not possible, then start thinking about the apps and the services that you've been paired with your car, like calendars, email, smart home integrations, etc. Everything from your garage door opener to your email can be changed to ensure your old car computer's data can't be used to activate or access any of those services anymore. At worst, you'd be left with a situation where there's old data on your old car computer, but no new data can be retrieved. And while that's not ideal, because old data can still be used for nefarious purposes, it does prevent access to any new current data. Finally, and this is super important, get yourself a password management system or some description so that you can use unique, hard-to-guess passwords for every service you use. It may be super convenient to use password 123 or Elon Rocks 99 as your password to everything, but it makes it so much easier for ne'er-do-wells to gain access to your system if they have access to something like, the computer that used to be in your car. By having each password be unique, it means that even if one system becomes compromised, your entire personal digital life is not turned into a nightmare. And if you can, look into individual passwords for each system you use. Some online services, for example, allow you to have one-time or specific use passwords for each app you connect to, like Google, for example. That way, even if your old car computer gets into the wrong hands, you should be safe, regardless of what car brand you own. That's it. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you next time.